the faking. I'm a young millionaire in the making. I done been broken, that hurts. I told him that the earth is my turf, so I get money and wiggle to another spot, wiggle to another spot, wiggle to another spot. Run it up and wiggle to another spot, wiggle to another spot, wiggle to another spot. iTunes cut the check, me and Tone split it. Mama pushed me out the womb, told me go get it. Your girl check my Instagram, she ain't got no business. Swing the Mac at a nigga like I know tennis. So pitiful, street so political. You a sucker, he a sucker, nigga identical. I got rich off my scale, then retired it. But I'm still plugged in like a fire stick. Cause I'm a king like Griffey. Like cornbread, I'm to the money in a jiffy. So can you stand the rain like Missy? I miss Cac like the world miss Nipsey. I still rep the block still. I humped her in a wheelchair, now she call me Hot Wheels. Yes, I can K-Tona, niggas don't pray for you, these niggas pray on you. Yeah, I can see through the faking. I'm a young millionaire in the making. I done been broken, that hurts. I told him that the earth is my turf, so I get money and wiggle to another spot, wiggle to another spot, wiggle to another spot. Run it up and wiggle to another spot, wiggle to another spot, wiggle to another spot.
I've been getting money since 6th grade. Got my first $80 from a chick, man. And I got it off of game and candy. Ever since I had to be down like Brandy. By 10th grade, I bought my own vehicle. It wasn't cheap or expensive, but it was reasonable. I draw that thing all across the map. Deals on wheels, what you know about that? I've been getting paid in CO. I went to school and took my talents to the mall. Me and Doe took the van to Carolina. Focus on business, wasn't worried about vagina. I hit Arizona for the heat. I go to San Diego for the beach. Of course Colorado come first, but if you ask where I'm from, I say the earth is my turf, nigga.
Yeah, I can see through the faking. I'm a young millionaire in the making. I done been broken, that hurts. I told him that the earth is my turf, so I get money and wiggle to another spot, wiggle to another spot, wiggle to another spot. Run it up and wiggle to another spot, wiggle to another spot, wiggle to another spot.
Run it up and wiggle to another spot. None other than, of course, Ike and K-Tona. These ninjas don't pray for you. They say these ninjas pray on you. It's a big day today, a special day. I mean, I've got an incredible conversation coming your way. And those of you who are creatives, those of you who have ever, let's see, like I'm just looking through all my stuff here. Those of you who have ever attempted to, say, for example, produce a feature film. Like, what does that entail? Maybe some of you want to be an actor or actress. How do you do that? And then, you know, when I talk about Nicki, she does a little bit of everything. But what we're talking about right now is this incredible film. It's called Summer of Violence. And what I want you all to do, I'm going to pull up and I've got to put in the link in the chat first. I got to put this link in the chat because I want everybody to go in here and purchase your tickets. So even before we have this conversation, I've got to come over here to my page. It's my Facebook page, and I'm going to pin a comment. And there's this incredible movie. It's called Summer of Violence. And many of you have already purchased your tickets. Let me see. Purchase. I'm going to do it this way. Get your tickets. There's the link right there. I'm just making sure. And then I need somebody to go in there and see if they see that link. I want you to hit that link and then tell me if you are able to purchase your tickets, because that's what this is about today. Talking about purchasing your tickets for Summer of Violence. And wow, with that being said, now I'm going to come over here to Nicki in just a moment. But before we do, how is everybody doing out there? Hope you're doing well. Share this. I see several of you have already gotten your tickets. I'm looking at that. Nicki must have stepped away for a quick second, but when she steps back up, we're gonna get her in and we're gonna get this conversation going, because it's an important conversation. And here's what I'm gonna do. Right, let me put speaker, and Let me do it gallery style. Gallery. Let me just multitask. There you have it. Nikki, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you very well. You know, you've got, you know what I want to do? I'm going to hit record so I can make sure we're recording this conversation.
In progress.
Nikki, you got two screens up, one that says Nikki and one that has you. It's going to be better if you delete one of them.
Okay, let me see if I can delete one of my people. Why am I here 2 times?
Oh, well, hold on. Let me just, here's what I'm going to do. Let me do it on my end.
Okay, go ahead.
Let me do it on my end right there. See, now it's both of us. Nicki Micheaux, please introduce yourself for those who do not know you, and you are a huge friend of Colorado and, well, the nation, but introduce yourself.
Hi, guys. I am Nicki Micheaux. I am a CU Boulder alumni. I am an actress and director, and I've been doing this since roughly 94. You may know me from TV shows like Lincoln Heights or In the Dark or maybe The Shield. I've been acting for a big part of my career, and I decided to take the leap into storytelling on a bigger level by directing my own film. And Summer of Violence is my first film inspired by a summer that I spent in Denver going through 1993's Summer of Violence.
That being said, I want to hit everybody with this trigger alert. This is a show that triggers people because you've entered a free think zone. If you're not willing to be exposed to other points of view, tune out now and don't read the comments. You have been warned. Free thinkers out there, I'm wondering your thoughts about the Summer of Violence, particularly around that 1993 era. And I want to know how you survived. Like, how did the Summer of Violence shape your life? Because it really touched most folks I know in some way, shape, or form, or maybe everyone. And Nikki, tell me a little bit about, that era, that 1993. You're up in Boulder, you're a college student, you're far away from Northeast Denver, but you're close to Northeast Denver. How did the Summer of Violence shape who you are, and how did you navigate it?
Well, actually, I was living I think I was living on 17th Street. I was living in Capitol Hill during that summer. So I had decided not to go home for the summer and was staying in Denver. And it was really interesting because, I was very much an outsider, not used to any sort of the gang stuff. So it was, you had heard about it, but living in the middle of it was, definitely different. I don't really think of it like, how did I survive? Because I feel like I was fine.
Yeah.
There was stuff. I mean, the movie is not my life. Just to be clear, the movie is not my life. The movie is a dramatization of things that happened to other people during that summer, or not even to other people, just what could have happened. Kind of like a fiction of a real event. But it was interesting because a lot of crazy stuff did happen. I think my biggest memory is coming home from work, and I don't know how much I can really say without getting people in trouble.
well, you know how you save them. You say you just change their character up a little bit.
You see, there was we had a lot of electronics in the house that would just sort of show up. And this particular night I came home, there was a big screen TV and we were watching Aliens, and I'm sitting and everybody was wearing blue. And I didn't think much of it for a minute. And then I kept looking like Hoyas, and then the blue bandana. And I was like, there's like 10 Crips and me watching Aliens. So that's just one of the stories of my summer, just sort of living in the middle of what was pretty wild. And I remember thinking, I'm going to end up on the news. I got to get out.
How did you end up with 10 Crips in the room anyway?
As I said, there were a number of electronics that would show up in our house and kind of stay there for a couple days.
Yeah, I get it.
Maybe they were movers.
Yeah. Nikki, when I say surviving that era, and what I mean is maybe, and most people or some were not directly impacted. Say, for example, gunshots, death, and all that. But there were places you couldn't travel there. I mean, or you were told to be away from, or
I'm going to tell you.
How did you even make sense of that time period?
I don't know that I did. I think part of writing the movie was trying to make sense of it because it never left me. And what I mean by that is it was in the air. There was something, there was a tension, there was a fear, there was, the randomness of the violence where you just didn't know where it was going to come from. And then also the ratcheting up of the rhetoric from the police and in the news, it also made it a little bit like tense, and because they were drumming up fear, so there were things happening on one hand in the community, and then there are other things happening in the media kind of ratcheting up the fear. So you as a regular person, you're just like, I don't know where to turn. And there was just a lot of tension. So, I don't really know how I survived because it really was just a blur. You just kept going. You kept going through the day. And as the summer went on, things got progressively worse. And it's funny, I stayed the entire summer. I don't quite know why, looking back on it. If my daughter had called me and told me some of the stuff that was going on that happened to me, I would have insisted she come home. But I don't know. I just never did. I just stayed through the summer because I felt bonded to the people that I was living with about us getting through it together. Mm. And I ended up living in a house where it was me and the guy I was dating. I think we were 21 years old, and everyone else was younger. So we had a couple runaways, a couple of, interesting characters, and so I felt responsible. I felt like we had to be there to make sure everything was okay. And that we could all get through it together. And because some of them couldn't go home.
Wow.
And my guy I was dating, he was going to DU. So we were like, supposedly the ones who knew better, the ones who knew how to navigate or what have you. But it was just crazy. And I think together we got through it. So that's how I would say, how did I survive? And I think also for me, I knew I could leave and go back to Boulder, a rather idyllic, isolated community. So I wasn't. I think when you can just leave, I think it's different than when you don't have options. It makes sense. But I don't think I was aware of how it impacted me emotionally until like around Christmas, because some people got arrested, some people I had to help get out of jail, and just the trauma of the summer and trying to make sense of it all, and you feel like, I'm fine, I'm not hurt, I can do this, but really you've been impacted. Mm-hmm. And so there are certain things that are kind of these invisible wounds that the people we lost, like I don't know what happened to the youngest one in the house. I don't quite know what happened. So there was just it's hard. So how did I survive? I just kept going.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and that's kind of like us as a people, or maybe the human element of, you keep going, and if you're here, it's because you keep going. And this was an impactful time because it made its way into a feature film. So,
it impacted me for sure.
So I mean, when you think about what it takes to make a feature film and all of the things that you could, do a story about, the summer of violence, is that kind of a way you process some of the things of your younger years, or why this film?
Because I had always wanted to tell the story. I really wanted to tell the story of all of us in that house. But I couldn't really, that was a big story. I couldn't fit it all in a movie. It was too many people, too much going on. It was just too much. And I don't think people would really even believe what was happening. I wanted to tell it. Part of it was processing, issues with my dad, as you can clearly see in the film. There were issues with, the main character and her father. So I was kind of working out stuff. I had already forgiven my father, and so I was writing about the process of forgiveness and how difficult it can be when you just want to be heard and you want people to understand you and you want to be seen, normal person problems. And then you compound that with what's going on outside of you, what's happening in the community. And I think being a Black person, I think that the things that we have to go through, when you're sort of running uphill a lot to achieve what would be a simple thing like follow your dreams. But I wanted to talk about that process and to tell people who are going through it, I see you. And yes, it is a challenge, but you can still get to the other side, and how we get through the other side. And I think that's why I wanted to make these characters, these friends, like the bonds that they make. It's by leaning in together is how we get through it, and that's really just love.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, everyone, this movie is Summer of Violence. It's a love letter in terms of how I look at this film, and we had an opportunity to do a sneak peek of it in the past, but we're gonna open it up and show it again on the 25th of September. We'll be at Northfield Harkins Theater. The link is in the chat. I'm encouraging everyone to go and hit that link. Get your tickets right now. Many might think that this is a documentary, but it's not a documentary. How would you explain this to someone who is watching? They hear this title, Summer of Violence. They take it personal as if it's them or this, but it's so much more. Explain the movie.
Explain the movie. Oh my God. When your summer fling turns into a crime thriller. You start off with the innocence of summer. My main girl, Naomi, she's wide-eyed, just out of college, not really experienced in the world. And you get out there and some things just start slapping you. And it's how you reel and get back up and work through some of the things that happen. And it's definitely a ride of a movie, about this girl's discovery, this young woman discovering herself, discovering her voice, using poetry to try to speak out against something and ultimately to heal. So that's how I would describe it in some ways. I mean, and I do think you're absolutely right. It is a love letter to everyone I know who's going through tough times, who's going through that type of challenge that seems beyond their control, that you do have a way to keep going. And for me, it's art. For me, it's, making this movie. For Naomi, it's poetry. And I feel like art is so powerful to help us make sense of the nonsensical, and to help us speak out in a way that is safe and catharsis. Like, my favorite poem in the movie is about violence is it's not random, it's personal. And it meant a lot to me to be able to kind of scream at the top of my lungs about what's happening, because we have our voices, and one voice alone doesn't change policy, but your one voice can change you so that you can keep going and change a room.
And you are this isn't a biography of Nicki Micheaux. It's really parts of you, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
because poetry is a part of it, and you wrote the poetry. And yes. I don't think you just started writing poetry for a movie. No. Maybe that's something, artistic expression that has been with you. And what strikes me about the one poem it begins is, they stole the summer. That's a powerful, that's a powerful line. How did you approach, bringing poetry into it? Because at that time, around the Summer of Violence, there were poetry venues, and Brother Jeff's Cultural Center is a part of the film, which really highlights that that's not a made up component. People were attempting to express themselves in a lot of different ways. And one of the main ways at that time folks were doing it was through hip hop and particularly poetry.
I mean, I was writing poetry at that time in the 93s, 94s. I was writing poetry. So half of the poems are actual poems that I wrote when I was 21 that are in the film. Some of the other poems are new ones, like, They Stole the Summer. That's a new poem that I wrote for the film. And I wrote it because when I think back on the Summer of Violence, that's what I think about. I feel like they stole the summer. and all the way that they ratcheted it up made us scared. Summer of Violence was on the newspaper, it was on the news, and the changing of the laws. It just was. I just felt like they just tried to take it from us. Because summer is supposed to be summer love. This type of escape and freedom and a break. From everything, fun, vacation, family, friends. But instead, it was a murder over here, a murder over there, and just feeling trapped.
Talk to me about the they, because it can be a moving target. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the they, as you just defined it, was like the ratcheting up, the marketing. It was almost as if someone was puppeteering and doing things.
Well,
I don't know. Talk a little bit about that they
I guess
again.
it's fear, and the media uses fear, and usually the fear is fear of the Black community, fear of the brown community. I mean, right now they're changing it to fear of the immigrants, and it's always used to sort of as a political device, to achieve some end, right? Usually more control. So usually when I'm talking they, it's more like I'm usually referencing media. I think that's when I hear myself talk about it, I really think I'm talking about media, because I remember being in because what happens is the media puts it out there and it's in the airwaves, and now you're talking about it. And then people are like, oh, and it's like a collective fear. And what I wanted to try to address was how this thing gets kind of put into the atmosphere. Like, I remember being in Market City Cafe during that summer, and just you could hear other people at other tables talking about, the summer of violence and the murders and being scared, especially after, some of the more severe incidents. So it just kind of makes I feel like there's an energetic connection we have as human beings, as people, and when you kind of put that energy out there to raise the level of fear, I don't think it helps solve a problem, because then that's what you end up with. Laws being passed where now we're prosecuting 12-year-olds as adults. Now we've got 100,000 more cops on the street, and the Black population in prison, I think, goes through the roof, after the 1993, 1994 crime bill. So the they is this invisible right, what media is doing, but the impact and how it changes laws is very, very real.
Go ahead, because this movie opens up an opportunity for extensive discussions on so many levels. Like, it's not mentioned in the movie, but now you're talking about crime bill. You're talking about 12-year-olds being charged as adults and having a youth offender system that is under the control of adult correctional facility, which took place here in Colorado. The legislator, the governor, Romer, calls the legislature into a special session because of whatever it is, and begins exactly what you're talking about, criminalizing young people.
That's why I wrote it, because I remember all of these things happening. And as I said, one of the guys living in our house was 14 years old. And I was very afraid for him, and what might occur because he was on a troubled path. And I was very afraid about the type of legislation. I mean, I remember being there was a football player at CU who's accused of a date rape situation, was sentenced to 16 years. And I went to that trial, and I sat there day in and day out, and I'm listening like this is like some he said, she said kind of thing. And I remember this young man, his life is over. And it's just about when it starts as like they putting it out there in the media, and then it turns into law, but then real people are impacted, and you have a generation.
Wow.
That's been affected. So why I wrote the movie, I mean, these were all the things that I remember and that I live with and I think about, but I didn't want to write a movie that was like stats and figures. I wanted a movie that could impact the heart, and I wanted a movie that was speaking to the people who aren't heard from.
Wow. Nicki, and it is a beautiful movie. I mean, everyone who sees it is really touched by the artistry, the attention to detail, the grandiose scale in terms of how you told this story. And so where are you at with it now? Because it's opening in theaters nationwide. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, but first, before that, I want to thank you for helping us make the film, because Brother Jeff, honestly, without you connecting us in the community in Denver, it would have been a very different film, and I'm not even sure it would have been complete. So just so much gratitude to you, the community center, and everybody that we got a chance to work with to make the film possible. I mean, just wouldn't be happening without you.
I just remember getting a call from Anubis. And Anubis was like, boom, this is what we're doing. And then we connect. Isn't it amazing how when an idea begins, how it connects so many different people and brings folks together? And it's like we're all mixing this gumbo together. Like, where do I get a 1984 vehicle in 2020? You know, like all of the magic.
The funny thing about that story is that when we started making the movie, and I had written all about, this 94 in Acura Integra, which was supposed to be the car in the movie, because that was the car I had, was a 94 Acura Integra. And I wanted to, and they were like, Nicki, that's 30 years ago. Where are we going to get this car? And I'm like, oh, yeah. But 1993 is so significant. Like my main business partner, Johnny Wembry, have you met Johnny?
Absolutely. And we want to say hello to Johnny. I know he's watching. He's amazing.
1993 was the year Johnny put down his gun and gave it to the pastor and changed his life. Mm-hmm. So it is something about how people come at it from different places. Like you came through Anubis. I met Johnny years ago on a completely different project, and he didn't even know about this film. And then when I brought it to him and he started to understand the significance of 1993, just the energies that you just never know how God is moving things and putting us all together to say the same thing, that this movie that we're addressing gun violence, that he would be turning away from gun violence, and we meet a person like yourself and what you're doing in the community. I don't think these are accidents, and I think that, film is an opportunity to get a point of view, to speak, for the voiceless. And it's wonderful to see how it's all transpiring. So what's next for the film?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm so excited. We are opening, first of all, the People's Premiere is in Denver, which you've been talking about, and I hope everyone gets their tickets. And we have a line around the block, and everybody can share about this film and how impactful it is. After that, we open up on September 27th in Atlanta and in Chicago. And we're starting there. And then as the movie gains popularity, we hope to expand. But those two places, Chicago and Atlanta, we just need everybody to show up and show out and experience this film. And also, if you're in a city and you want to bring summer violence to your city, all you have to do is call your local theater and ask them. Just ask them to bring the movie.
Wow. For those, it's really interesting thinking about the summer of violence, and when you're in this part of the country, and particularly in Colorado, it rings. How does it ring nationally? You know what I mean? How does that title land without the context that we know?
Well, unfortunately, gun violence is familiar for everybody. Mm-hmm. So the title itself and the young woman on the cover, it just strikes people still, no matter where we are, even though they have no idea, what Denver or summer of violence at that particular moment in time. People are connecting with it because gun violence is far too common and far too rampant. Mm-hmm.
And sadly, this story is everywhere where we are concentrated in the same way in many regards, and so this is a universal story, sadly, but then also there's so much beauty in this story as well.
Well, that's kind of my point, is that we cannot give up hope. And no matter, because it can be dark, for what I think about the different tragedies from Columbine to Sandy Hook to Parkland, to the incident that just occurred at somewhere, I believe in Georgia. I can't remember the name of it, but we cannot give up hope. We have to keep speaking truth to power, so to speak, and we have to kind of stay on the path. At the same time, I want to acknowledge everyone who's going through it, that we see you, we see your pain, and let's come together and love each other through it, because it's this girl walking through this, and I hope that people see themselves in her, because we can walk through this and contribute in a way that makes sense for us.
Wow. Without giving up the plot or the story or anything like that, the artistry of the love interest. You know, you to also be an artist and to be in an environment of poetry, and you know, no matter who we are, we're multidimensional, and I think that the film shows that as well.
Yes, I think so. I hope so. I mean,
no, it does. I'm like, me as an end user watching and saying, wow, this is so multi-layered. And the way you were able to capture all that, Nicki, was just incredible. What advice would you give to an artist, a young filmmaker, or someone who has an ideal like you and then wants to bring it to the big screen? How, like, what would you say?
I would say, you know, you've got an idea, you write it down, or you find someone to help you write it down, and you start making your way to making it a reality. There's a lot to learn, but it all starts with doing. And you can start with your phone. You can start with 5 pages, a couple of friends, some lines, and shooting a scene on your phone. And you start where you are. You start where you're planted, and you just keep growing, because it's definitely possible for you to create whatever idea you have in your head. So I would just say, start where you planted, get going. Do
it. And with the advent of social media, you can be a content creator with just that phone. Like, you can get your voice out there.
I go back to the phones. You know, your phone's very, very powerful. Very, very powerful. And there's no excuse from where you can put it anywhere, from YouTube to TikTok to Twitter. There's a place for you. And that's short form. But I mean, even if you want to do something long form, making a project is making a project is making a project. And then I would also get educated, learn the craft, take classes. Don't go out there and make a movie without learning a little something. It is a lot to do.
You know, Nicki Micheaux is on and with us in the Free Think Zone. The movie is Summer of Violence. The People's premiere is Wednesday the 25th. The link is in the chat. Somebody go in there and hit that. It is an amazing film. And I think that it is important to bring everyone out. How would you say, Nicki, in terms of having something so personal to so many people, how do you prepare yourself to come into an environment, you know what I mean? And then also just experience all of that. And then also we're going to have an opportunity for people to debrief all of that, because it's a lot. What would you say to those coming in that are close to this, but still should be in it in a way that opens up opportunities for whatever? It could be some healing, some realization, some connection, some unpacking. What are your thoughts?
I understand that sometimes the film can hit people in a very deep way, and that's honestly beautiful. And I think coming together to have conversation that can lead to realizations or healings or all these things are part of the growth process. And I think that any opportunity we can come together to heal and find hope is something we should be doing, because we all know it's still happening. It's still happening. And the hope is that it provokes a conversation where maybe we can start to take a step towards change, because changing hearts and minds is how we can actually make change. And if we're stuck in our trauma, the hurt of our trauma, we are not useful, because if we're still stuck with our wounds and we can't sort of grow beyond it or grow through it, we can't help others. I'm not the same person I was before I made this project. You know, sometimes we need a collective to be able to come to terms with the things that have impacted us.
Wow.
So my hope is that it is a collective, and I look forward to it. I mean, I you know, some of the most painful things in the movie are my stories, you know, and so no one's there who, I get it. So
I like what you just said, Nicki, because it's not abstract. It's not you from the outside. Some of the most difficult dynamics in the film are personal to you, and if you made the film and went through it. Every time you walk through and watch your creation, you probably learn a little bit more. But I like how you mentioned this project changed you. Talk a little bit about some of your learnings that you came away with after playing with or dealing with your artistic portion of it. There's something you got out of it, and there's something that art does to the human spirit. What lessons?
Well, the first thing is a great deal of peace. A great deal of peace. By bringing it out into the open, I'm so much more peaceful about everything and the process. And it allows, and being able to watch other people experience it and then talking to them afterwards. So many white young women crying after the film about what they've experienced and them being able to articulate it now. Young woman that I think, how do we live with it? How do we live with what's going on around us? Because as a young person, you can feel quite vulnerable and helpless. And my hope, so for me, what I've learned is that part of my job as an artist is to speak up and to point out and to shine a light on the things that of the human condition, that need to be seen, that need to be healed. And so I think when I was making it, I was making it, I think, really from a more artist catharsis. I'm gonna tell this story. I mean, I really never knew anyone would make the movie. I just wrote it because it was in my heart. I never ever knew it would actually happen. I mean, you say you want to make it, but then it's a long way from I got an idea to in the theaters. So when I wrote it, I was just writing.
Wow.
And now that it's here, you start to realize the amazing honor and how art is a part of the community and a part of the conversation, can spark conversation, sparking healing, and it's so much bigger than me.
I'm excited. It's the People's Premiere. It's taking place on the 25th at Harkins Theater in Northfield, 6:30. Get your tickets. The link is right there in the chat. It's going to sell out, everybody, and we're giving you the opportunity to get your tickets right now. And I know that sometimes we wait, and then we show up at the theater and we're like, well, you're going to have to wait because we're seriously going to sell this out. Everybody go get your tickets right now. And I get an opportunity to see everybody who's buying tickets, and just the collection of individuals that are going to be there
Awesome.
is amazing in and of itself. Nicki Micheaux is the director of this film. She's an actor, a poet, an artist, and a sister of many traits. I want to ask, what was it like being the director? Because I was able to watch you be a director, and
How was it?
it was amazing to watch you work, because as an artist, you've got all of these individuals around you that are helping to bring your vision to the forefront, but you have to keep your vision in the forefront so it doesn't run away from you. And I think watching you corral, 100 or so people was kind of magical.
Really? Oh, that's so fun. That's
And you had some amazing actors, actresses,
Yes,
other
yes, I did.
people behind the camera, folks that were building sets, and it's a lot of work.
I'm going to tell you, it was a very magical experience for me. The moment that I sat down with Casey and Joaquin in the rehearsal and they just said the lines, it just came to life in such a beautiful, beautiful way. And when I worked with Ben, my DP, he got it. When he read the script, he's like, Nicki, this is so personal and so vulnerable. I have to do this with you. And so much of the film and so many people in the film were so locked in. They got it. As you say, it's a really universal, very relatable story, surrounded about, the love of a daughter and a father. And so I feel like, I don't even know if it was corralling as much as just kind of being the through point of the energy field, because I feel like so many people got it and were on board, and which made it, for me, it was just like riding a wave. It was just amazing and fun, and it's a lot of work and a lot of people, and I think by day 17 my legs were definitely like feeling it, but it was funny. Day 17 I remember because I was like, because I think we finished on day 19 and my body was like, and I think I worked every day. Like we didn't take weekends off because we were usually building stuff to shoot the following week, on the weekends or filming B-roll. So we were always working. Like Ben and I were always out there just getting film, getting footage. And I was in love with the process.
Wow.
My body, day 17, I was like, you need to sleep. But I could have kept going. I just loved it.
When I tell folks that this was a massive undertaking, I'm talking about huge trucks full of equipment making their way from California.
Yes. Yes.
It's not a small undertaking.
2 states, 3 cities, 19 days.
Say that again.
2 states, 3 cities, 19 days.
In day 17, you hit the wave. What was it like? What's that feeling like when it just comes together? You know what I mean? Where you're like, we are doing something that's beyond ourselves. I do certain things, and then I know that when I finish and I look back, I say, there's no way I could have put that together, but it came together, and you're like, this is magical.
It feels, it's like you're in awe of it. You're in awe of it. It's, and then when you we had our premiere at ABFF. And I remember when it finished, everyone raised their hands and did the snaps like you do at a poetry for the last poem of the film. That moment when this crazy idea you have in your head lands with other people, it's just like the most inspiring thing to happen. It's pretty cool. I can't think of anything more cool than that.
Nicki Micheaux, she is in the Free Think Zone, the director of this incredible film. It is Summer of Violence. The people's premiere is going to be on the 25th of September right here in Northfield. We're going to be at Harkins Theater. Get your tickets. It's going to sell out. We're going to just push it all the way up to the 25th, but an amazing time. Before we wrap up, Nicki, can you talk a little bit about some of the accolades that the film has received? There's some awards that it's taken, and talk a little bit about some of the cast and who they are.
Well, one thing I want to mention, though, is if they want to see it beyond the 25th, all you have to do is go to your theaters, even Northfield, and ask them to bring the film back. Ask them to carry the film, and then it can maybe run for maybe a week or two. But, Casey Inez, a fantastic actress, is playing Naomi. Really fantastic, beautiful, raw talent. And I'm telling you, just go to see her. And Joaquin Guillory, who plays Frank, I mean, an amazing actor. You've probably seen him on, I think he's on the show The Chi. You may remember him from Black Lightning, but he's a face you're going to recognize, but just amazing talent. And then, of course, Damon Gupton, who plays the father. I think he was on, I don't know everybody's credits. I feel like Criminal Minds. Maybe he was also on Black Lightning, but just amazing, amazing actors. And we have been honored with Best Picture at the DTLA Film Festival. We also won the Audience Award. We won Outstanding First Feature at the Tallgrass Film Festival. BET.com says we were the top 10 must-see film at ABFF in 2023. So that was pretty freaking impressive because there were some pretty serious films that year. And the last thing I want to mention is that we were nominated for the Narrative Feature Jury Award at the Austin Film Festival. And as a writer, that meant so much to me for the film to be nominated, because this was, my first produced script, and to be nominated by a festival that's known for Oscar-winning writers was just like, it was just amazing.
What's next for you? Because I know you're doing some acting, and we were able to pull you away from a set somewhere.
I am not supposed to talk about it yet.
Oh, don't talk about that, but you got some big stuff coming up.
It is a very cool movie coming up that I'm acting in that I'm super excited about. I don't know when it's going to come out. We're filming it now. I will come back to tell you all the details because it's so cool. It's so cool. I get to play a hell of a badass. We like that. We like to be a badass. It's a lot of fun.
Well, I could tell you, Nicki Micheaux is in the free think zone. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take just a quick second because my goal now is to navigate the technology for just a second because I want to show the clip. I want to show a clip of the film.
Okay, do you have a clip? I can send you one.
Well, I got it right here. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to see how I can navigate. I want to navigate this technology and see how it's working. I want to see if I was a user of the technology on my end, what would it look like? There is a link for you to get the movie. And let me see what well, I was going to do it off of Facebook. What I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to go here to my account here, and I'm going to go down and I'm going to pull up the link so everybody can just kind of see a piece of the film. So I'm scrolling. If you all are watching, I'm just scrolling down my page because so many people have shared it. And as soon as I get to one, I'm going to hit that link. Okay, there it is. I'm going to show you guys how this works. All right. If you look at your screen right now, you see it's coming up, and I'm going down. You see Tokumbo Joseph shared the link. Summer of Violence. You see it. Harkins. I'm gonna hit that link and see what comes up. Let's just see it together so we can. Now you see right there what's happening. It shows that. Summer of Violence, Harkins Theater, Northfield 18. Now there's some of the accolades that are scrolling, but I'm going to hit the trailer. I'm going to hit trailer. I'm going to hit Summer of Violence, and let's see what happens.
The Summer of Violence continues to take lives with the death.
They stole the summer, gave it a new name. I've been writing some poems.
This was part of the plan, an internship before your first year.
That's what you planned, Dad.
It's your life. You're shacking up with that white boy. Next thing you'll be pregnant.
It's way too serious. I'd never even dated a black girl before, and I never wanted it to be my life.
Forget about your dad. Forget about Richie. You're gonna love Denver.
What about summer love?
I'll show you some.
Summer hope, summer dreams, freedom. That's how you see me?
Yeah.
Summer. They say violence is random, but it can't be random when it keeps happening on the same 6 blocks, killing the same black bodies. It's not random, it's personal. So stop saying it's random, because it can't ever be random. When it feels so damn personal to me.
Wow. That's all see, I'm like the rest of you. You're speechless. You're like, I'm going to go get my tickets. You're going to be there. And with that being said, I'm going to shut this down. I'm doing the multitasking technological stuff because I want to get Nicki back over here. Nicki, okay. Stop saying it's random when it's so damn personal.
Not random. It's personal.
It's personal. Yes. Can I tell you one of my favorite lines?
Please.
I'm gonna tell you one of my favorite lines.
What is it?
Everybody, go get your tickets. It's the people's premiere, and you're gonna get to hear Dad say, "Shacking up with that white boy." Next thing you know, you're gonna be pregnant.
That line almost didn't make it. That line almost didn't make it in the movie, and I was like,
I love that line. It almost didn't make it.
Well, now, why is that your favorite line?
I don't know. It just.
Oh my God!
It hits. It just hits so funny because in the clip he says, "Hey, this is the first black girl I ever dated." I'm like, it's a great line.
Oh God!
It's so bolder.
People talk like that, man. This is how people talk.
So it's like, oh, so with that being said, everybody, Nicki Micheaux, she's right here in the Free Think Zone. She's the director. The People's Premiere is going to happen on the 25th. I'm hoping everybody has gotten their tickets. More tickets are selling every day, and we're going to sell this out by the 25th. We want everybody to be there. The Summer of Violence, 1993. I want everybody to think about that time period, if you were around, and how it shaped your life. And then even if you weren't around, I guarantee you your life is shaped by it. Nicki, when we start talking about the community to prison pipeline, we start talking about mass incarceration. We start talking about just unnecessary loss of life and violence extraordinarily hitting our community. It absolutely has a ripple effect into 2024, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. Unfortunately so. And you can't escape it. You can't escape it. And it's still going on today. Both sides of it. So everybody's been shaped by it.
Well, that being said, what are some of the, and I got a couple more questions for you. What are some of the most questions that you get? Like, you've had an opportunity to screen this. What are some of the things that you're hearing or you're asked and you're like, wow, I want to dig into that? Or, what are you hearing?
I'm trying to remember, like, what are some of the most questions? A lot of people want to know, oh, yeah, this is always interesting to me. People ask me, did this happen to you? And it's always interesting to me because what difference would it make if it did or didn't happen to me? It's always an interesting question to me. Because I always want to ask them why. Like, does that make the movie less or more? Like, what do you? I always wonder where that question comes from, and I'm never quite sure, because I think it is because it's Summer of Violence. People think it's a they're thinking documentary or something, and it's not that. But I always find that's always an interesting question to me. Yeah, I don't know. Like, does it need to be real to be impactful?
Wow. It's interesting when you think about it. When I watched the film and even thinking about it right now, Julie Marsala is in the chat, and she said that summer showed her where that life was going. Prison or death were the end game, and she just had to get out of it. And all of these stories are there, but watching this film, there's so many universal messages, the expectations of father and family, of daughter and upward mobility, and where that lands, and expectations, and who to please and how to please yourself, and like it's all of that is in this movie.
Yes.
And we're not going to tell it. We're not going to tell it because we want people to come and see it. Okay. With that being said, Nicki, final thoughts, final question, or final, whatever it is. I want you to wrap this up, put a bow on it, any way you would like. But it's amazing having you here. It's always great to see your smile. Your energy is infectious. Your vision, in terms of you're always doing something else, and to have all that wrapped up in an individual. It's kind of explosive. It's like, that's Nicki. Where's she going next? Poof, but it's going to be big. Final thoughts from you, Nicki.
Thank you, Jeff, for having me on and hosting the People's Premiere in Denver. I am excited for people to see it. I cannot wait. People tag the film. Let me know your thoughts about the film. I can't wait. And definitely, I'm happy to try to figure out how I can come out and be a part of any sort of panel conversation afterwards, because let's have conversations. Let's talk about what comes up for you and how do we go forward?
Is there a hashtag? How is the social media stuff handled?
Hashtag Cinematic Sisterhood. Hashtag Summer of Violence Film, because we want everybody to come out, because again, it's about that healing community. Come out together. Discuss it together. Grab your girl, grab your father, grab your brother, come out together and let's create our own community around film.
Wow, creating our own community around film, the arts, and all of that is what it's all about.
Because, we have a chance we're distributing this independently, 360 Films. So this is Black folk, putting it out there for the community. And we call it cinematic sisterhood because we are in charge of our own story here. We get to, we had independent dollars. I got to make the movie that I saw. Johnny was very supportive of the vision. My other investor, my brother, Brian Mitchell, very supportive of the vision. And now we get to deliver it directly to the people. This is like Black entrepreneurship. So we want everyone to come and enjoy this because we are speaking directly to you. We're speaking with that, not through any sort of filtered lens of corporate America. This is as pure as story can get, and it's a great opportunity for everyone to be a part of that.
Everybody. No, go ahead. Everybody meet us at the People's Premiere. It's the 25th of September, 6:30, Harkins Theater in Northfield. It's like Shabazz says, the acting made him forget that they were actually acting. It was that good.
That's amazing.
That's the comment from Shabazz. The acting will make you forget that they're like, it's what film will do. I know I keep saying the final question, but like the black pastors do, they pass that collection plate several times, and so, or they close it several times. But when you speak, you always open up another opportunity for a question. How important is it for us to tell our own stories? Because when you said they stole the summer, now it's like, and we told our story. Like, how important is it for us to have access to tell our own stories, and what happens when we don't?
It is paramount that we tell our own stories, and also that we're able to build businesses and the money comes into the Black community and hangs out for a minute. They talk about, I think, $1 stays in the Black community 6 seconds, and it's the shortest amount of time than any other community. There is so much money in the film business. It's one of the largest exports that we have in the United States. And Black culture is like a superpower all over the world. And more of us need to be profiting off of what we create, So it's imperative, like we create enough culture for none of us to be living in poverty. We create this culture. We create this, and everybody's making money off of it. We need to talk about and figure out ways and mechanisms that this money stays inside of our community and our hands. So it's important that we tell our own stories. It's also important that, they be as good as they can be and impactful. And I'm so glad that people enjoy the film. So when we're telling you go out and watch this film, I want you to go out to be impacted. It's not just a straight support Black film. I want you to hear this message and be inspired by it and leave with hope and awe and all the feelings that so many people across this country have left with when they see Summer of Violence, and share it with a sister, with a brother who you feel like needs to who would also like to go on this journey. Because what happens when we don't is we don't get to tell the quiet stories. I feel like Summer of Violence is a quiet story, because it's about, you don't normally hear about the young woman in these communities. It's more glamorized, like the gun violence is very glamorized in a lot of pop culture. Gangbangers are cool. We have all kinds of series dedicated to selling drugs, gangs, and all of that. And there's nothing wrong with that, but that can't be all there is. And when we don't get behind the camera and behind the pen and tell our story, it becomes distorted. And so our view of who we are becomes distorted globally. So this is an attempt to tell a story about a dynamic young woman from an upper middle class home who experiences a very interesting summer. and things go a little bit left, and it is a very relatable story that could happen to anyone, and more people need to see the multifaceted versions of us as people. That's why we have to control our own stories, and we should be able to uplift ourselves economically by getting our art out there. It's twofold. That was a lot, I know.
Listen,
you asked me.
We're gonna leave it right there because you put it right there where everybody can reach it. Like, that is amazing. Nicki Micheaux, thank you so much. Thank you for this incredible film. It's Summer of Violence. It's centered around 1993. It's won multiple awards. The people's premiere is going to be right here at Northfield, Harkins Northfield, 6:30 p.m. on the 25th. And so you're looking at a pioneer, you're looking at a trailblazer, an artist, someone that you've seen in the past. You're seeing more and more, and we get to just see Nicki's career just continually unfold like the beautiful flower that she is. Nicki, thank you so much. It's incredible. I know you've got plenty to do, but September 25th is going to be packed. We're going to do the thing. It's the people's premiere, and I just appreciate you so much.
Oh, thank you.
There she goes, Nicki Micheaux. It's so amazing to just be with her and to hear her and to just be a part of that magic. Be a part of the magic and community just coming together. And so looking forward to everybody being at Harkins Northfield, 6:30 on the 25th. Tickets it's going to be sold out. And so I would encourage you, there's a link somewhere in the chat. I don't know if somebody sees it. There is a link and it should be pinned. I'm going to share it again. It should be pinned, but there it is. Go and get your tickets. It's not hard to find. Pin this one more time. Yep, it's right there. It's not hard for you to get your tickets, and I'm seeing tickets are being purchased even right now. Julie says the link is working. She has checked it. How did you survive 1993? What does even 1993 mean to you? What does the Summer of Violence mean to you? Like, I tend to want to put an S on it. Summers, like violence, with a capital V that would encompass everything. And that means that no matter how violence touches you, this is a story that we should be able to all identify with. And Nicki Micheaux has done an excellent job in bringing that to the forefront through the lens of, what was taking place here in Colorado. All right, with that being said, don't forget we are powered by the people. Go to brotherjeff.com, make a donation of any amount. Want to say thank you to all of our patrons and those of you who go to PayPal, brotherjeff.com, and make donations of any amount. And there's the great Leanne Wheeler's favorite option. It's Cash App, $JEFFFARD. And don't forget about Chubby Curls, educating the natural community one scalp at a time. If you've got those little skinny curls, make them chubby. ChubbyCurls.com. We'll see you on the 25th at Harkins Northfield, Summer of Violence. Keep your eye on Nicki Micheaux. I mean, you've already seen her in a bunch of different iterations as it relates to acting. Now you get to see her debut film, and she's working on some other stuff. And it's just amazing to be a part of that journey because we're all in it together. All right. Don't forget, if you go down swinging, you just might score a knockout. Rumble Young Man, Women in Community. Thank you, Nicki Micheaux, and make sure you hit that link. I'm going to keep telling you, we're going to keep sharing it, and then sooner rather than later, we're going to just tell you that it's sold out. And you're going to be like, dang. We're going to tell you that it's sold out. Dang. Rumble Young Man, Women in Community. Rumble.